Good morning to all. I welcome you all for the next session of our class. So far we were discussing about transportation, and in the last class we clearly discussed about the transportation happening in human beings, and also we discussed the structure and function of human beings, and also we discussed various chambers of heart seen in different organisms in detail itself. And in the last class itself I told you that a small portion is being left behind. So today we can continue along with that. Okay. So in the last class we discussed blood, heart and all, and today we are going to see lymph. Lymph is also a transporting fluid. Okay, as similar to blood, but some slight differences are there. We will come to see that. Okay, so lymph. What is lymph actually? As a definition, we could say it is also a transporting fluid. Now, how lymph is formed? So, in last class we discussed detail what are capillaries and all. So, some pores are present on the walls of capillaries. Okay. So, due to this pores, some of the blood cells and plasma would escape through the pores into the intracellular spaces of the tissues. Clear? Through the pores of the capillaries, some amount of blood cells and plasma proteins would enter into the intracellular spaces, and that forms the lymph. That forms the tissue fluid lymph. Is it clear? Okay. I told that lymph is similar to blood but have some differences with blood. That is, lymph are colorless in nature with less protein content when comparing with blood. Okay, lymph is similar to blood but in some points they are different in their color and protein content. Okay, so that's all about lymph. What is lymph? Okay, now the lymph is present in the intracellular spaces. From the intracellular spaces, the lymph will enter into lymphatic capillaries similar to that of our blood capillaries. These blood capillaries join together to form lymph vessels, and that lymph vessels would open to large vein. Clear? Okay, the lymph will opens into lymphatic capillaries, and that capillaries will join together to form the lymph vessels, but finally opens to large veins. Okay, so lymph is also carried in by the veins itself. Okay, now what is the function of lymph? Lymph carry the digested and absorbed fat from the small intestine. We have studied the complete digestion is happening in the small intestine, right? And the fat will be digested in the small intestine. So the lymph will carry this digested and absorbed fat from the small intestine. Along with that, it performs another function too. What is that? It drains back the excess fluid from the spaces of the tissues back into the blood itself. Okay, it gives back the excess fluid from the intercellular spaces back to the blood itself. So, two functions. Carry digested and absorbed fat and also drains back the excess fluid into the blood itself. Okay, so I hope lymph is clear. What is lymph? How it is drained? What is its function? Okay, so next we are moving to, so far we discussed about transportation in human beings. Now we are going to see transportation in plants. Children, do read your textbook clearly. Each and every sentence will be a question. So, don't skip the textbook reading. You have to read your textbook, along with you have to maintain your notebook. Clear? You can write it as lecture notes or the notes that I am giving after each class. So, you have to maintain a notebook for sure, along with the reading textbook. Okay. So, back to the class. Transportation in plants. We all know that plants uses simple substances from surroundings. What are the simple substances such as carbon dioxide, water and all, to perform the photosynthesis, right? You know what is photosynthesis, clear? So, to perform photosynthesis, they need some raw materials, and they collect these raw materials from the immediate surroundings. Other raw materials needed for the plant growth and their development and all, they have to take it separately. So, how they are taken, how these raw materials are being taken. So, we know that plants, for plants, the nearest and richest source for all these raw materials are soil, obviously the soil, right? So, they take up the essential raw materials such as nitrogen, phosphorus, etc., and other types of minerals, ions and all immediately from the soil, right? So, soil, from the soil, how it is being taken? Yes, an organ is there which is in close contact with the soil. That organ is our root. Clear? That organ is our root. So, with the help of root, from the soil, the plants are able to collect the raw materials needed for their growth and development. So, if the distance between the organ that have a close connection with the soil, that is the root, and the organ which contain chlorophyll. Which is the organ which contain chlorophyll? Yes, it is the leaf. If the distance between the root and the leaf are small, then process diffusion is quite enough for to meet the requirements. With the help of diffusion itself, the raw materials would enter into the root and it would be distributed to different parts of the body. But if the distance between the root and leaf is much large, then what would be the condition? Diffusion alone can't meet the needs of the plant. So, that condition demands for a perfect transport system. Clear? So, that condition demands the plant to have a perfect transport condition to ensure that all raw materials are reached to every part of the plant equally to perform their metabolic processes. Okay. And when we are considering this, metabolic process and uptake of substances and all, energy is needed, isn't it? So energy, the need of energy is different in different organisms. In the last class we discussed, in the case of animals and birds, they need more energy to perform various activities. So they can't ever tolerate the mixing up of the blood. For that instance, they are having 4-chambered heart, isn't it? We had discussed. But to an extent, this amphibians and reptiles, except crocodile, all those reptiles and amphibians are having 3-chambered heart. So that means they can tolerate, to an extent they can tolerate the mixing up of the blood, clear, and they are able to change their body temperature according to the surrounding temperature. Okay, so the energy needs, I am coming to that point, that energy needs are different in different organisms. What is the case of plant energy? Do plants need more energy? Plants, as we all know, that they are immovable and also they are flagellate or lodged with lots of dead tissues. So comparatively they need less energy. Okay, so they support slow transport system also. Energy is needed for the transport but very low. The energy consumed will be very low when compared to higher animals and all. Okay, so that point should be kept in your mind. Okay, so we can move into the transport system in plants. Okay. The transport system in plants is known as the vascular system. Transport system of plants is otherwise known as vascular system, and it consists of certain vascular tissue which help in the transporting of substances, and they include the xylem and phloem. In detail we had studied these topics in our last year's biology. Recollect it. Okay, isn't it? We have discussed what is xylem, their various components, what is phloem, their components. In second chapter tissues, we have detailed all these tissues. Okay, again I am checking your previous knowledge. Okay, so xylem conducts, yes, water, and phloem conducts, yes, food. Clear? These are the things you have already studied. No need to go into the detail. Okay, so here we are going to see how they are conducting in detail. These basic things we had studied in our last year biology. Okay, so first of all, let's check with xylem. So you know that xylem is the vascular tissue which conduct water, and xylem is having 4 components. All these things you have studied. What are they? Xylem vessels, xylem tracheids, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Out of these 4 components or components, the xylem vessels and xylem tracheids are engaged in the conduction of water. Okay, now how do they conduct water? You all know that the xylem is present in root, stem, leaves, more or less every part of the plant. So they are interconnected and they remain as a water conducting channel, continuous water conducting channel. Clear? They are interconnected and form a continuous water conducting channels. Okay. So, we just before this we discussed that roots are responsible for the transport of water from the soil, since roots are the organ which are having close connection with the soil. So, when we are enlarging this area, roots contain what? Root contain root hair that we have studied in our lower classes, right? So, suppose these are soil particles, okay, in between that it is having water molecules, okay. Suppose this is the root of the plant, okay, root of the plant, and this is one of the root hair of one root. They will be penetrating deep into the soil. So, if there are more fine hairs, fine root hairs, then it would increases the surface area and enable the root to absorb more water. So, root hair helps to increase the surface area of the root. So, it will help to absorb more water from the soil particle. So, if the root hair is like this way, water will enter into the root hair first, and from the root hair it will be reaching to what? Root. Okay. So, now the water will be reached into the root. Now, let the water molecules be like this way. These are the water molecules. I know that you are feeling some little confusion because I am taking an excuse. I don't have a color chalk in order to avoid it. I hope it's clear to you. Okay. So, now the water had reached to the root. Now, this water will be collected by the xylem which is present in the root. Now, the water will enter into the xylem. Clear? So, this is how water is being taken. So, along with this water, soil contains several minerals too. So, mineral ions. So, first of all, we can say how this water entered. First of all, we can discuss. First of all, the root would take the ions from the soil. Clear? First of all, the roots would take the ions from the soil. So, when a soil contains more ions. Now, these ions will be taken up by the roots. Now, the ions had reached to the roots. Since ions had reached in the root, there will be a difference in the concentration. A concentration difference happens. So, in order to eliminate this difference in the concentration gradient, water will also move into the root, so as to balance this concentration difference. Clear? So, this movement of water from the soil to roots, to eliminate the concentration difference, is by a process known as osmosis. This we have studied, isn't it? Osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane is known as osmosis. I hope it's clear. First of all, ions will reach the roots, that would cause a difference in the concentration gradient. So, as to eliminate the difference in the concentration gradient, water will move into the root for balancing them by a process known as osmosis. Now, the water had reached in the roots. Now, my next question is, how does this water from the roots, how the water would reach to upper part of the plant against gravity. How it is reaching? That's my question. From the root, how the water reaches to the upper part of the plant against gravity. Now we are going to discuss that in detail. See, first of all, when we discussed, now the water had reached to the root. So before that, going into the detail, you might have heard of the term transpiration, right? What is transpiration? The loss of water from the aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration. So, from where does the transpiration occurs? From where does the water is being lost? Water is lost due to evaporation, isn't it? And also due to the opening of stomatal pores. All these cause the water loss. So water is lost through the evaporation, through the opening of the stomata. So there will be water demand. Water will be lost. So that would increase the demand of water. Then that causes a suction pull. That causes a suction pull. Now already the water had reached in the root. So due to transpiration, a suction pull is being experienced. So that creates the pulling up of the water from the roots through the channels of the xylem. I told xylem is being interconnected. So through the interconnected xylem, this water will be conducted as continuous channels to different parts of the plant. Clear? Okay, so this suction pull is very necessary in tall plants and all. In small plants and all, diffusion is enough and more to meet the water emergency situations and all. But in higher plants, only diffusion can't meet the needs. So at that time, suction pull plays a major role. How the suction pull is caused? Due to the transpiration. So that is the first function of transpiration. It causes suction pull. Along with that, transpiration also cools the plant. How? Due to the evaporation, water will be lost. So due to evaporation, the plant will be having a cooling effect. Clear? So two function, it cools the plant or it regulates the temperature of the plant, and also it causes the suction pull of the plant. Clear? Now, so that is the in order to know more about suction pull we also do that while having a glass of milkshake with the help of a straw. We produce suction pull. We need that milkshake, isn't it? So a pulling effect has to be driven. Then only that milkshake will enter into that straw. Then only we will be able to have that milkshake. Similar case is happening in the plants. Think about that, then it would be quite easy. Okay, so we are moving, we discuss what is transpiration, how it helps in the movement of water, and also what are the functions. Okay, now one more point. So during daytime only this evaporation is happening, isn't it? Evaporation is happening only in the presence of sunlight. So along with the photosynthesis, this water is being also lost, and that is being happening in the daytime. So during daytime transpiration occurs, which results in the suction pull. Then what about at night? At night there is no conduction of water. There will be, obviously there will be no transpiration and there will be no suction pull. So transpiration will not act as a driving force for the upward movement of water. So at night what is happening? the root pressure. The complete effect is being relied on the root pressure. Depending upon the root pressure, the water will move upwards only during night, and during daytime this will be repeated. Okay. Now we are moving to, that's all about the transport of water through the xylem. Now we are moving to the transport of food. Transport of food. Which vascular tissue helps in transport of food? Yes, it is the phloem. Okay. The transport of food from the leaves to different parts of the plant is termed as translocation. So what is translocation? Transport of food from the leaves to different parts of the plant by phloem is known as translocation. So again, phloem is also having various component cells, and among that sieve tubes help in the transport of food in the phloem. Sieve tubes will be placed one above the other and they will form a tube, and along that tube the phloem conducts the food. So when we are looking at the phloem and xylem, xylem transport water from the root to up. Clear? Only in one direction. From the top part, the water will not enter into the rootous part. Does it enter? No, only from the root it will move to the upper part. So the movement of water in xylem is in only one direction. But in the case of phloem, they will be moving upward, downward, sideward, anywhere. They are the conducting tissues of food from the leaves. So leaves will be distributed in various parts of the plant, right? So there is no limitations for the direction. It will move upward, downward, southward, anywhere. Okay. So we discussed about translocation. So besides this food, some amino acids and other substances are also transported by phloem for the storage parts of roots, stem, leaves, etc. Clear? And also we discussed that xylem doesn't need any energy. Either by diffusion or osmosis the water would enter. Osmosis is the main process. But in the case of phloem, they utilizes energy from ATP. They utilizes the energy from ATP. That means we have to discuss that since glucose is the byproduct of the photosynthesis. Now glucose is transported from the leaves to different parts of the plant in the form of sucrose. Now while transporting this sucrose, energy is utilized by the phloem and sucrose will enter into the phloem. Clear? So when the sucrose enter into the phloem, there occurs a difference in the solute concentration which results in the difference in the osmotic pressure. So osmotic pressure will be high in phloem since sucrose had entered into the phloem. So due to the increase or due to the osmotic pressure in the phloem, suppose tissues are present, the water, some amount of water will enter into the phloem from a region of lower pressure to a region of higher pressure. Clear? So phloem along with food, some amount of water is also entering into the phloem. You will be having a slight confusion when you read that portion in your textbook. That's why I am making it crystal clear to you. I hope you are following me. Okay. Some amount of water from the tissues will enter into the phloem. So, phloem will pass its food and along with this some amount of water to the other tissues. Clear? So, the phloem is giving food according to the plant's need. Justify. If suppose such a question is asked, phloem is supplied the food according to the plant's need. Justify. How? How we can answer that question? So, in spring and all, spring is the very beautiful season, right? Or more or less all plants, flowering plants will start to bloom. So, for that blooming and all, excess or extra energy is needed. So, the extra energy which is stored in different parts of the plant, that will be stored in roots, leaves and all, which is to be used in future purpose. That will be utilized by the phloem, and they will take the extra food from these stored organs and will transfer to the buds. Clear? Then only the buds will bloom into beautiful flowers, right? So, so buds at that time need more energy to bloom. Clear? So, according to the plant's needs, phloem can transport the food items. Okay, so I hope today's class is clear to you. Today we discussed lymph, then transportation in plants, typically xylem and phloem. So with this we had completed transportation in organisms, in plants and animals. We discussed in detail. Clear? So keep a note with you, dear. Study on the go itself, otherwise it would pile up and create much problem to you. So, we are repeating again and again, study it clearly. If you are finding any kind of doubt, let it be a serious one or silly one, don't be shy to ask to your teachers. We are always here to help you, and I hope today's class is clear to you. If you are finding any kind of difficulties, do contact me. I am here to help you. Then for time being I am winding up. So thank you. Have a nice day.